Some games are great, some are legendary, but only a rare few achieve perfection. These are the games that set new standards, the ones that define entire genres and leave players saying, "This is how gaming should be." In this video, we're diving into 15 masterpieces, games so well crafted, so brilliantly designed, that they deserve a perfect 10 out of 10. Whether it's their unforgettable storytelling, groundbreaking gameplay, or breathtaking worlds, these games are the pinnacle of gaming excellence. And before we jump in, what's your perfect 10 out of 10 game? Drop it in the comments, and let's see how many of your picks made the list. Now, let's get into the best of the best. Few games capture raw emotion, tension, and storytelling like A Plague Tale: Requiem. This game is an unforgettable journey of survival, sacrifice, and the unbreakable bond between two siblings. Following up on the critically acclaimed Innocence, Requiem takes everything to the next level. A bigger world, deeper mechanics, and a gut-wrenching narrative that stays with you long after the credits roll. You once again step into the shoes of Amicia, a young woman burdened with protecting her younger brother, Hugo, whose mysterious curse makes him both a target and a danger to the world around him. As they flee persecution and navigate a plague-ravaged land, you're thrown into a world that is as breathtaking as it is terrifying. The stealth gameplay from the first game returns, but now Amicia is more capable than ever. She's no longer just a scared girl, she's a survivor. With new weapons, brutal combat options, and a more open-ended level design, you can tackle each encounter your way. But even with these new tools, Requiem never lets you feel overpowered. Every encounter is a desperate fight for survival, with tense stealth sequences, high-stakes chases, and heart-stopping action moments. And then there's the rats, thousands, even millions of them. Hugo's abilities allow you to control these nightmarish swarms, turning them into a terrifying force against your enemies. But his power comes at a cost, and the story constantly tests your morality, your limits, and your willingness to fight for hope in a world that seems completely lost. With stunning visuals, phenomenal voice acting, and an emotionally charged soundtrack, A Plague Tale: Requiem delivers one of the most gripping narratives in modern gaming. It's a rare blend of beauty and horror, a game that pushes storytelling to its limits while keeping you on the edge of your seat. This is an unforgettable experience that absolutely deserves a perfect 10 out of 10, and I, for one, loved it, and will soon be picking it up again. When it comes to superhero games, few even come close to the brilliance of Batman: Arkham City. This game is the gold standard, an open-world action masterpiece that perfectly captures what it means to be the Dark Knight. It took everything Arkham Asylum did right and expanded it into something even greater: a sprawling, dangerous Gotham, a thrilling story, and some of the best combat and stealth mechanics in gaming history. Set within the sealed-off prison district of Gotham, Arkham City throws you into a gritty, chaotic world filled with legendary villains like the Joker, Two-Face, Penguin, and Mr. Freeze. Every corner of the city is packed with secrets, side quests, and encounters that make Gotham feel truly alive and unpredictable. But what truly makes Arkham City a masterpiece is its combat and movement. The free-flow combat system is a masterclass in fluidity, allowing you to take on dozens of enemies at once while countering, dodging, and using gadgets in real time. It's fast, brutal, and deeply satisfying. No other game makes you feel more like Batman. The stealth gameplay is just as refined, rewarding patience and creativity as you use the shadows to strike fear into your enemies. And the traversal, gliding across the city, with Batman's cape feels so smooth and exhilarating that simply moving through Gotham is a joy in itself. Then there's the story, one of the best Batman narratives ever told. Written by Paul Dini, the mind behind Batman the Animated Series, Arkham City is filled with shocking twists, unforgettable moments, and an ending that still hits like a freight train. The voice acting is legendary, with Mark Hamill's Joker and Kevin Conroy's Batman delivering some of their best performances ever. Over a decade later, Arkham City remains one of the greatest superhero games of all time. With tight gameplay, an incredible world, and a story that respects its characters, this is a game that deserves every bit of its perfect 10 out of 10 reputation. There have been plenty of Lord of the Rings games, but none have done what Shadow of Mordor accomplished. This game took the brutal world of Middle-earth and combined it with open-world exploration, cinematic combat, and one of the most innovative gameplay systems ever created, the Nemesis system. At its core, Shadow of Mordor is a revenge story, putting you in the boots of Talion, a ranger whose family is murdered by Sauron's forces. But death isn't the end for him. He's resurrected and bound to Celebrimbor, an ancient elf wraith, setting the stage for a bloody, supernatural tale of vengeance. What sets Shadow of Mordor apart is its dynamic enemies. The Nemesis system creates an ever-changing hierarchy of orc captains and warlords, each with their own personalities, strengths, and weaknesses. Every time you fight, or even lose to a captain, they remember the battle, adapt, and grow stronger. Some enemies will taunt you for running away. Others will come back from the dead, scarred and seeking revenge. It's an unparalleled system that makes every encounter feel personal and unpredictable. And then there's the combat. If you love the fluid, counter-based fighting of the Arkham series, Shadow of Mordor takes that foundation and cranks it up to 11. The brutality is unmatched, decapitating Uruks, executing powerful finishers, and controlling the battlefield with Celebrimbor's ghostly powers never gets old. Exploration is just as satisfying. The world may not be as vast as some open-world games, but every location is dripping with atmosphere. From the bleak, war-torn wastelands of Mordor to the crumbling ruins of ancient strongholds, every part of the map feels like it belongs in the Lord of the Rings. But Shadow of Mordor isn't just about combat, it's about domination. As you gain power, you can turn enemies into allies, sending mind-controlled orcs to infiltrate enemy ranks, betray war chiefs, or create all-out chaos within Sauron's forces. The deeper you go, the more strategic and addictive the game becomes. Few games in history have introduced a system as groundbreaking as the Nemesis system, and it's a shame that no other studio has properly replicated it. That alone makes Shadow of Mordor worthy of a perfect 10 out of 10. This is one of the best action games of its generation, a dark, thrilling, and brutally satisfying adventure through Middle-earth that you'll be sure to enjoy and miss once you beat. There are great games, and then there are games like Nier Automata, a game that completely changes how you see the medium. On the surface, it might look like just another stylish action RPG, but the deeper you go, the more you realize this is something special. Developed by Platinum Games and directed by the visionary Yoko Taro, Nier Automata blends fast-paced action combat, deep RPG mechanics, and one of the most profound narratives in gaming. You play as 2B, a combat android sent to Earth as part of a war between humanity and an invading force of machine life forms. But right from the start, something feels off. The game wastes no time in throwing you into its fluid, exhilarating combat. If you've played games like Bayonetta or Devil May Cry, you'll feel right at home. Combat is blazing fast, with elegant swordplay, acrobatic dodges, and smooth weapon switching. But Nier Automata isn't just about combat, it's about reinventing itself. The game frequently switches genres on the fly, transforming from a third-person action RPG to a bullet hell shooter, a side-scrolling platformer, and even a text-based adventure. But what truly makes Nier Automata legendary is its storytelling. This isn't just a game with a good story. It's a game that uses the medium to tell its story in ways that no other game does. Themes of existence, free will, identity, and the meaning of life are woven into every piece of gameplay, dialogue, and world building. And just when you think you've seen it all, Nier Automata shatters expectations, because one playthrough isn't enough. To fully experience the game's true narrative, you have to complete multiple playthroughs, each revealing new perspectives and hidden truths. The way the game builds upon itself is nothing short of genius. And then there's the soundtrack. The music in Nier Automata is unlike anything else in gaming. Composed by Keiichi Okabe, the score blends haunting choirs, melancholic piano pieces, and soaring orchestral arrangements, creating an atmosphere that elevates every moment. Whether you're exploring a ruined city, fighting off waves of machines, or facing one of the game's unforgettable bosses, the music is pure perfection. Few games can claim to be as artistically ambitious and mechanically satisfying as Nier Automata. It's a game that demands to be played, discussed, and analyzed. By the time you reach the true ending, you'll realize this isn't just a game. It's an experience that stays with you long after the credits roll. Perfect 10 out of 10. No question. Few games manage to capture the magic of role-playing quite like Baldur's Gate 3. Developed by Larian Studios, this game doesn't just meet expectations, it obliterates them. Baldur's Gate 3 is a massive, choice-driven RPG that lets you craft your own adventure with unprecedented freedom, and it's one of the most immersive, ambitious, and well-written RPGs ever created. Set in the world of Dungeons and Dragons, Baldur's Gate 3 takes the tabletop experience and transforms it into a fully realized cinematic adventure. You create your own character, or choose from a selection of deeply written origin characters, and embark on a journey where every choice matters. But this isn't just your story. Every companion in your party has their own motivations, secrets, and conflicts, and how you interact with them can change everything. The turn-based combat system, inspired by D&D's rule set, offers incredible depth and strategy. Positioning, environmental hazards, and creative use of spells all play a role, making every battle feel like a puzzle with endless solutions. Whether you're hurling fireballs, shoving enemies off cliffs, or using the environment to your advantage, the combat never stops being engaging. But Baldur's Gate 3 isn't just about combat, it's about player agency. This game gives you an unprecedented level of freedom to approach quests however you want. Want to talk your way out of a fight? Sneak past an entire enemy camp? Betray your allies for power? You can do it. The amount of branching narratives is mind-blowing, ensuring that no two playthroughs are ever the same. And then there's the writing. Every line of dialogue, every lore entry, and every interaction is crafted with care. The characters feel real, their struggles are meaningful, and their arcs are some of the best in gaming. Add to that stunning visuals, a rich world filled with secrets, and a soundtrack that perfectly complements the adventure, and you have a game that is nothing short of a masterpiece. Baldur's Gate 3 isn't just an RPG, it's the gold standard for the genre. With infinite replayability, deep role-playing mechanics, and an emotionally gripping narrative, this is a game that redefines what modern RPGs can be. A true 10 out of 10. Few games command the sheer intensity, atmosphere, and challenge of Bloodborne. Developed by From Software, this Lovecraftian horror-inspired action RPG abandons the slow, methodical combat of Dark Souls in favor of aggression, speed, and relentless brutality. It's a game that demands everything from you, and in return, it delivers an unparalleled experience that lingers long after you put the controller down. Set in the twisted Gothic city of Yharnam, Bloodborne throws you into a plague-ridden nightmare filled with beastly horrors, eldritch abominations, and secrets too terrifying to comprehend. From the moment you awaken as a hunter, you're given one goal: survive. The game's cryptic storytelling, delivered through environmental details, item descriptions, and fragmented dialogue, slowly reveals the horrors lurking beneath the surface. What begins as a hunt for beasts soon spirals into cosmic horror of unspeakable scale. The combat is where Bloodborne truly shines. Unlike its Soulsborne predecessors, the game encourages aggression rather than caution. There's no blocking here, only dodging, countering, and striking at the perfect moment. The trick weapons add a layer of depth, each with a transformable mode that allows for dynamic, adaptable combat. Whether you're wielding the Saw Cleaver, the Ludwig's Holy Blade, or the Brutal Hunter's Axe, every weapon is visceral, satisfying, and incredibly well-designed. Boss fights in Bloodborne are legendary. From the grotesque cleric beast to the terrifying Orphan of Kos, every battle is a test of skill, patience, and nerves of steel. The enemy design is disturbingly beautiful, making each encounter feel like a descent further into madness. Beyond the brutality, Bloodborne is a visual and auditory masterpiece. The Gothic architecture, haunting soundtrack, and eerie silence between battles create an atmosphere that is truly one of a kind. The DLC, The Old Hunters, pushes this even further, adding some of the best bosses, weapons, and lore expansions in gaming history. There's a reason Bloodborne is considered one of the greatest action RPGs of all time. It's challenging, rewarding, terrifying, and unforgettable. A game that doesn't just demand mastery, it demands obsession. Another true 10 out of 10. A game that I lost hours upon hours on, that blends cinematic storytelling, breathtaking action, and deeply human character moments, is Uncharted 4: A Thief's End. As the grand finale to Nathan Drake's legendary journey, this game delivers a pulse-pounding adventure packed with explosive set pieces, emotional depth, and some of the best visuals of its generation. At its core, Uncharted 4 is a story about legacy, brotherhood, and the cost of obsession. Nathan Drake, now retired from treasure hunting, is pulled back into one last adventure when his long-lost brother, Sam, resurfaces with a proposition: find the lost pirate utopia of Libertalia, or risk losing everything. The stakes feel real, not just in terms of the treasure, but in Nathan's internal struggle between his adventurous past and his settled future. From the sun-soaked streets of Italy to the dense jungles of Madagascar, every location in Uncharted 4 is breathtakingly detailed. The game pushes the PlayStation 4 to its limits, delivering photorealistic environments, lifelike character animations, and explosive action sequences that rival Hollywood blockbusters. Whether you're scaling cliffs, engaging in intense shootouts, or solving ancient puzzles, the game constantly finds new ways to keep you engaged. And then there are the set pieces, a trademark of the Uncharted series. The Madagascar chase sequence, where Drake is dragged through the streets in a high-speed pursuit, is one of the most exhilarating moments in gaming history. The game seamlessly transitions between cutscenes and gameplay, making you feel like you're in complete control of your own action movie. But what truly makes Uncharted 4 shine is its characters. Nathan, Sam, Elena, and Sully are more fleshed out than ever. Their relationships feel authentic, raw, and deeply personal. The banter between them adds warmth and humor, making these characters feel alive in a way few games ever achieve. The gameplay itself is more refined than ever, featuring smooth gunplay, intelligent enemy AI, and expanded traversal mechanics. The addition of the grappling hook opens up vertical combat and exploration, making climbing and movement feel fluid and exhilarating. Uncharted 4 is more than just an action-adventure game. It's a masterpiece in storytelling, world-building, and game design. It's a fitting farewell to one of gaming's most beloved protagonists, giving players a final chapter that is both thrilling and heartfelt. Definitely a 10 out of 10 experience that sets the bar for cinematic gaming. Few games have left as deep and lasting an impact as The Last of Us. This post-apocalyptic masterpiece isn't just a game. It's an emotional journey that tests the limits of human resilience, morality, and survival. Combining brutal gameplay, masterful storytelling, and one of the most iconic duos in gaming, this is a 10 out of 10 experience that redefined narrative-driven gaming. At the heart of The Last of Us is Joel and Ellie, two unlikely companions forced to navigate a world ravaged by a fungal outbreak that has turned much of the population into mindless, aggressive creatures. Joel, a hardened survivor scarred by loss, is tasked with smuggling Ellie, a teenage girl who may hold the key to humanity's survival. What starts as a reluctant partnership evolves into a deep, complex, and heartbreaking bond, with moments of tenderness, humor, and gut-wrenching emotional weight. Naughty Dog delivers a stunningly immersive world that feels hauntingly real. The decaying remnants of civilization, overgrown with nature and filled with desperate survivors, make every moment tense and unpredictable. Whether you're sneaking through abandoned buildings, scavenging for supplies, or barely surviving brutal encounters, the game never lets you feel safe. And then there's the gameplay, a perfect blend of stealth, action, and survival horror. Combat is visceral, weighty, and unforgiving. Every bullet matters, every fight is desperate. The game forces you to think strategically, using the environment, crafting tools, and deciding when to engage or evade. The clickers, the game's terrifyingly iconic enemies, make stealth encounters some of the most nerve-wracking in gaming history. But The Last of Us isn't just about survival. It's about the choices people make in the face of desperation. The story isn't afraid to explore moral ambiguity, leaving players questioning their own actions and decisions. The final act is one of the most controversial and emotionally devastating endings in gaming, sparking debates that continue over a decade later. The remastered versions and The Last of Us Part 1 remake only enhance this already flawless experience, bringing improved visuals, enhanced AI, and even more emotional depth. This is more than just a great game. It's a masterpiece in storytelling, world-building, and emotional impact. The Last of Us proves that video games can be just as powerful as the greatest films and books ever made. If you haven't played it yet, you're missing out on one of the most unforgettable gaming experiences of all time. From Software has built a reputation for brutally challenging yet deeply rewarding games, but Sekiro, Shadows Die Twice takes it to another level. This masterpiece of swordplay, timing, and strategy isn't just a Souls-like game. It's an entirely unique experience that demands absolute mastery. Set in a beautifully crafted version of Sengoku-era Japan, Sekiro puts players in control of Wolf, a shinobi seeking vengeance and redemption after losing his master and his own arm. Unlike other From Software games, Sekiro abandons RPG-style character builds, focusing entirely on fast, precise, and punishing sword combat. You can't rely on grinding for better gear or summoning help. It's just you, your blade, and your skill. The combat system is one of the best ever created. It revolves around posture and deflection, forcing players to stay aggressive while reading enemy attacks with razor-sharp focus. Parries are not just defensive maneuvers, they're your primary weapon, leading to stunningly cinematic clashes where every duel feels like a battle of wills. Unlike Dark Souls, blocking isn't enough. You need to master the rhythm of combat or be mercilessly cut down. And then there are the boss fights, absolute masterclasses in design. From the legendary Genichiro Ashina to the brutal Ishin, the Sword Saint, these fights are some of the most intense, rewarding, and beautifully choreographed encounters in gaming history. Victory never comes easy, but when you finally land that killing blow, the rush of triumph is unmatched. Beyond the brutal difficulty, Sekiro's world is hauntingly beautiful. From ancient castles to misty forests, every location is rich with atmosphere, secrets, and deadly enemies. The game's storytelling is more direct than From Software's usual cryptic approach, but still layered with deep lore and philosophical themes about honor, duty, and the cost of revenge. With multiple endings, an addictive New Game Plus mode, and some of the most satisfying combat in gaming history, Sekiro is a perfect 10 out of 10 experience. It's not for the faint of heart, but for those who rise to the challenge. It's an unforgettable journey that will sharpen your skills and push you to your limits. If you're looking for a game that rewards mastery like no other, Sekiro Shadows Die Twice is an absolute must-play. In at number 6 we have a game that few games have had the cultural impact of, The Elder Scrolls Skyrim. Released in 2011, it redefined the open-world RPG genre, allowing players to lose themselves in a vast living world where every mountain could be climbed, every decision shaped the story, and adventure lurked around every corner. Even after more than a decade, Skyrim remains one of the most immersive and beloved RPGs ever made. From the moment you step off the execution cart and into the world of Tamriel, Skyrim feels alive. The game doesn't hold your hand. After the opening moments, you're free to go anywhere and be anyone. Want to become a battle-hardened warrior, a stealthy assassin, a powerful mage, or even a werewolf or vampire? Skyrim lets you forge your own path through its massive, dynamic world. The game's open-ended storytelling and choice-driven gameplay are among its greatest strengths. You can follow the main questline, battling dragons and fulfilling your destiny as the Dragonborn, or you can ignore it entirely and become the leader of the Dark Brotherhood, the Thieves' Guild, the Companions, or the College of Winterhold. The world reacts to your decisions, and the way you shape your journey makes every playthrough unique. And then there's the sheer scale of exploration. With dozens of cities, dungeons, and breathtaking landscapes, Skyrim feels like a real place, filled with hidden secrets, ancient ruins, and compelling side quests. Some of the best stories aren't even found in the main quest, but in random encounters, books, and NPCs you stumble upon. Skyrim's combat and magic systems, while simple, allow for deep customization, whether you're dual-wielding enchanted swords, shouting enemies off cliffs with the power of your voice, or casting destructive spells. And thanks to its legendary modding community, Skyrim has remained relevant for over a decade, with thousands of fan-made improvements keeping it fresh and beautiful. Skyrim isn't just a game, it's a phenomenon. Its impact on gaming is immeasurable, and its ability to immerse players in a true fantasy world remains unmatched. Whether you're revisiting it for the 10th time or diving in for the first, Skyrim is an open-world masterpiece that will never fade. Not many games have redefined an entire genre the way The Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild did in 2017. This game wasn't just another entry in the Zelda franchise, it was a revolution. By throwing out many of the series' long-standing conventions, Breath of the Wild created an open-world experience unlike anything before it, setting a new gold standard for exploration, freedom, and emergent gameplay. Right from the start, the game abandons traditional restrictions. After waking up in the ruined Kingdom of Hyrule, you're free to go anywhere. See that distant mountain? You can climb it. That enemy camp? You can sneak past, fight head-on, or set the grass on fire and watch the wind spread the flames. The sheer sense of freedom and player agency is what makes Breath of the Wild so special. The world itself is stunningly alive. Weather changes dynamically, from thunderstorms that force you to unequip metal weapons to cold mountain peaks that demand proper gear or a warming meal. The physics engine invites creative problem-solving, letting you cut down trees to make bridges, use metal objects to conduct electricity, or shield surf down snowy slopes. There's no right way to do anything, and that's the magic of it. Combat feels fluid and dynamic, with an emphasis on weapon variety, dodging, and timing perfect counterattacks. Every weapon breaks over time, forcing you to adapt and experiment. Add in the rune abilities, like magnesis for moving metal objects or cryones for freezing water into platforms, and Breath of the Wild offers one of the most diverse tool sets in gaming. The shrines and dungeons provide unique, physics-based puzzles that reward creativity, while the 4 divine beasts serve as a fresh twist on traditional Zelda dungeons. And of course, the battle against Calamity Ganon is entirely up to you. You can march to Hyrule Castle in the first hour if you're bold enough. More than just a game, Breath of the Wild is an experience that immerses you in a world full of discovery, challenge, and wonder. It's a true masterpiece of game design, and one of the best open-world adventures ever made. Not many franchises have reinvented themselves as successfully as God of War. What started as a brutal over-the-top hack-and-slash series evolved into one of the most emotionally powerful games of all time. God of War didn't just continue Kratos' story. It completely redefined it, turning him from a rage-fueled god killer into a deeply complex father struggling with his past while raising his son, Atreus. From the opening moments, you know this isn't the same God of War. The fixed camera is gone, replaced with an intimate over-the-shoulder perspective that makes every moment feel visceral and immersive. The combat is weighty and strategic, with Kratos wielding the Leviathan axe, a weapon that feels just as iconic as the Blades of Chaos. The ability to throw and recall it never gets old, and the brutal finishers make every battle feel intensely satisfying. But what truly makes God of War a masterpiece isn't just its combat, it's the story. Kratos, now living in the realm of Norse mythology, embarks on a journey with Atreus to spread the ashes of his late wife. Along the way, he struggles to connect with his son, teaching him strength while learning how to be vulnerable himself. Their relationship is the heart of the game, and watching it evolve is one of the most powerful experiences in modern gaming. The world of God of War is stunningly crafted, with a semi-open design that encourages exploration. Realms like Midgard, Alfheim, and Helheim are breathtaking, filled with secrets, puzzles, and lore that deepen the game's already rich narrative. The game also features some of the best boss fights ever, with battles against gods like Baldur pushing the combat to its absolute limit. With flawless storytelling, incredible gameplay, and an unforgettable world, God of War is a masterclass in game design. It's not just a reinvention, it's one of the greatest games ever made. From Software has perfected the Souls formula over the years, but Elden Ring took it to an entirely new level. Combining the brutal challenge of Dark Souls, the atmospheric world-building of Bloodborne, and the expansive freedom of an open world, Elden Ring is an unparalleled achievement in game design. Set in the lands between, a vast and hauntingly beautiful world crafted with the help of George R.R. Martin, Elden Ring offers unlimited exploration. Unlike traditional open-world games that guide you from objective to objective, this world feels completely organic, encouraging players to discover secrets, hidden bosses, and entire regions without a single map marker pointing the way. Every mountain, castle, and ruin tells a story, and no two players will experience the game the same way. The combat is peak From Software, fierce, punishing, and incredibly rewarding. But unlike previous Souls games, Elden Ring offers unprecedented freedom in how you approach battles. Want to fight on horseback? You can. Prefer to use powerful sorcery? Go for it. Want to stealth your way through a castle? That works too. With hundreds of weapons, spells, and builds, the game encourages endless experimentation. And then there are the bosses. Elden Ring features some of the most breathtaking, awe-inspiring, and downright brutal fights in gaming history. Whether it's the relentless Malekith, the overwhelming Radagon, or the legendary Malenia, each boss is a test of skill, patience, and determination. Yet, what makes Elden Ring a true masterpiece is its sense of mystery and discovery. Every inch of the game is dripping with lore, waiting to be uncovered. From the shattered history of Queen Marika to the fate of the Tarnished, Elden Ring offers one of the deepest, most rewarding narratives in gaming, without ever forcing it upon you. This is not just From Software's best game. It's one of the greatest open-world experiences ever created. If there's one game that defines modern RPG excellence, coming in at number 2, it's The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. CD Projekt Red crafted one of the richest, most immersive worlds in gaming history, blending deep storytelling, unforgettable characters, and a world that feels truly alive. At the heart of it all is Geralt of Rivia, a hardened monster hunter searching for his adopted daughter, Ciri, while navigating the chaos of a war-torn continent. But The Witcher 3 isn't just about its gripping main quest. It's about the choices you make along the way. Every decision, no matter how small, has far-reaching consequences, making your journey feel deeply personal. And then there's the world itself, a sprawling landscape filled with lush forests, war-ravaged villages, towering castles, and eerie swamps. Unlike many open-world games, The Witcher 3 ensures that every corner of the map is worth exploring, rewarding players with hidden quests, fascinating lore, and moral dilemmas that challenge the way you think. The game's side quests set a new benchmark for RPG storytelling. Missions like the Bloody Baron or the Tower Full of Mice aren't just throwaway distractions. They're deep, emotionally charged narratives that rival the main story in quality. Few games have side content this meaningful, making every new quest a story worth experiencing. Combat in The Witcher 3 offers a perfect blend of strategy and action. Geralt's swordplay, magic signs, potions, and monster hunting tactics provide depth and flexibility, letting players tailor their playstyle. And speaking of monsters, the bestiary is unmatched, filled with terrifying creatures drawn from Slavic mythology, each requiring unique strategies to defeat. Beyond all this, the game's 2 expansions, Hearts of Stone and Blood and Wine, are masterpieces in their own right, adding dozens of hours of new content and an entire new region to explore. Almost a decade later, no RPG has surpassed The Witcher 3 in world building, quest design, and narrative depth. It's one of the most well-crafted games of all time, and a must-play for any RPG fan. Now for the number 1 game on our list, a game that truly deserves a 10 out of 10 score. Some might even give it an 11, it's Red Dead Redemption 2. Rockstar Games delivered not just an open-world game, but a living, breathing world filled with stunning landscapes, unforgettable characters, and an emotional story that lingers long after the credits roll. Set in the dying days of the Wild West, you play as Arthur Morgan, an outlaw struggling to survive while grappling with loyalty, morality, and the inevitable downfall of his gang. Unlike most open-world protagonists, Arthur isn't just a vessel for the player. He's one of the best-written characters in gaming history. His journey is tragic, profound, and deeply personal, and how you play him, whether as a ruthless outlaw or a man seeking redemption, shapes the narrative in powerful ways. Rockstar's attention to detail is unparalleled. Every town, every forest, every backwater swamp feels handcrafted. NPCs have daily routines, the wildlife behaves realistically, and your actions directly impact how the world reacts to you. The world doesn't just exist, it lives and evolves, whether you're there or not. And then there's the gameplay. Combat is weighty and visceral, every gunfight feels tense, and Rockstar's signature cinematic presentation enhances every moment. But Red Dead Redemption 2 isn't just about gunfights. It's about living in its world. You can hunt, fish, gamble, rob trains, help strangers, or just ride through breathtaking landscapes as the sun sets behind the mountains. What sets RDR 2 apart is its storytelling. The game doesn't rush. It takes its time, letting you bond with your fellow gang members, making the inevitable betrayals and tragedies hit even harder. By the end, you don't just feel like you've played a game, you feel like you've lived an entire life. With stunning visuals, an unforgettable story, and a level of detail unmatched in gaming, Red Dead Redemption 2 isn't just a masterpiece. It's one of the greatest games ever made. The best games aren't just the ones we play, they're the ones we remember. The ones that stay with us long after the credits roll. From the emotional weight of Red Dead Redemption 2 and The Last of Us to the breathtaking exploration of Breath of the Wild and Elden Ring, each of these masterpieces pushed gaming forward in their own way. These games set new standards for storytelling, world building, and gameplay, proving that video games can be more than just entertainment, they can be art. Whether it's the deep role-playing of The Witcher 3, the intense combat of Bloodborne, or the cinematic brilliance of God of War, each title on this list delivers an unforgettable experience that every gamer should experience at least once. But of course, this is just one list. There are countless other legendary games that could have made the cut. So now, I want to hear from you. Which game do you think deserves a perfect 10 out of 10? Drop your picks in the comments, and let's get the discussion going. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like. And if you want more deep dives into the best games ever made, don't forget to subscribe. We've got a lot more gaming content coming your way, so stay tuned. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.